Hi everyone, I'm Vatsa Ashish Batra and I secured an All India rank of 2 in NEET UG 2022. Everyone knows that practice and revision are an integral part of the exam, but what can make or break the day is the strategy. Today I'm here to discuss that. So the entire day before the exam was very stressful. जितनी भी negative thoughts आ सकती थी कि नहीं होगा, fail हो जाऊंगा या कुछ भी होगा, वो उसी दिन आना start हो गई थी. तो आई वॉज वेरी स्ट्रेस्ड आउट एंड नेचुरली ये भी लग रहा था कि कहीं ये ना आ जाए एग्ज़ाम में, तो सब कुछ का रिविजन करने की कोशिश कर रहा था. बिकॉज दैट्स नॉट पॉसिबल, दैट वॉज अगेन मेकिंग मी मोर स्ट्रेस्ड एंड टुवर्ड्स द end of the day I really didn't know what to do. At that point my parents came in, they said that it was okay and I needed to stop studying. Initially I had planned that I wouldn't study on that day and I would relax क्योंकि पता था कि ऐसा होने ही वाला है. बट जो सोचा था नहीं पढ़ूंगा, फिर लगा कि 3 घंटे पढ़ लेता हूँ 12 बजे तक, फिर शाम हो गई, पढ़ते पढ़ते निकल गया. एंड देन माई पेरेंट्स सेड कि चलो मूवी देखने चलते हैं. सो वी वेंट एंड वी वॉच्ड अ मूवी एंड दैट रियली काल्म्ड माई नर्व्स. बट अगेन व्हेन आई केम बैक होम आई अगेन स्टार्टेड गेटिंग द थॉट्स कि ये छूट गया तो एग्जाम में आ जाएगा तो क्या होगा. एंड एट दैट पॉइंट आई हैड टू सॉर्ट ऑफ गिव अप ऑन माई सेल्फ कि अब जो होगा वो देखा जाएगा. तो आई हैड इनिशियली प्लान टू स्लीप एट अराउंड 12 o'clock in the night, but that 12 became 12:30 and then 1 o'clock. And finally I did sleep off at 1 o'clock, even though I wasn't able to sleep properly actually on that day. I was so excited. The entire 2 years had culminated into that day. So naturally I was very excited, very nervous and extremely tense. So the morning of the exam, I woke up around 8:30 in the morning. Wasn't able to sleep too well. And I was surrounded by anxiety. I'd never thought that I'd be so stressed in my life. The last month before the exam was relatively relaxed for me. I did not stress out too much. But then it all culminated on that day. And because I had been so relaxed in the last month, I never thought I'd be so stressed out. I didn't really know how to handle it very well. So I would suggest that the magnitude of the stress that you're going to face on the exam day, you cannot even compare with anything you've done before. So you have to keep that in mind, that is also a factor. Then I had my breakfast and I left for my center. My mother came with me. I reached there well ahead of time, around 12:30. I think last entry was at 1:30. I didn't see any point in going into the center too early, so I sat in the car and took a small nap. Usually what I used to do before even my mock tests. That really refreshed me, and as I went into the center, I was actually feeling much more calm because I saw all the other aspirants around me, and I thought that I was in not a different position than any of them. They were all feeling the same things as me, and it was natural. So yeah, that really helped me a lot. So because my center was pretty far from my house, we'd scouted it out the previous day. And I'd also read all the guidelines because I felt that there was no point in leaving anything there. There should be nothing else that would stress you out on the day apart from the exam itself. The guidelines said to take a transparent water bottle, which I did. And although a pen wasn't allowed, I took one regardless. They give a pen in the exam center. So yeah, because I'd heard very many horrifying stories about how the frisking is done in NEET. So I was pretty serious about that. Even my parents, they took great care of that. I reached the center early, as I said, and when I entered, it was really calming. I felt very good after entering. All the stress and the anxiety that I had around me before entering was gone all of a sudden, which actually was surprising for me. So I went in and I sat at around 1 o'clock. The frisking at the center was pretty extensive. That took about 15 to 20 minutes. But it was all smoothly done. It was very well managed. And I found my exam room, I went in, I sat there, and the first thing I did was I asked the teacher when we would get the question paper. Because I was aware that the guidelines said that we'd get it at 1:50, I think. And I didn't want it later than that. I knew I had to keep the whole 3 hours, 20 minutes for me if I wanted to perform well. After that, I waited some more, and then we finally got the OMR sheet to fill in our details and the pen to go along with it. One thing that did prove a bit of a problem was that the pen was really bad. I mean, it did not work at all. So I had to change that, and even after that, it was patchy. I mean, it was not good at all. So Later on that got fixed, but it led to some delay in getting the question paper and filling in my details. The exam environment on that day was pretty good, I would say. Actually, it was much more reasonable than I'd expected. Being Delhi on July, it was extremely hot, but that didn't play much of a factor in my performance. And the invigilators were polite enough. I mean, they weren't exactly the kindest or the rudest, they were good. The other students in the room, they seemed just as scared as me, so I was pretty calmed by that. And the rest of the things were moving pretty smoothly. Regardless of that, we got the question paper just a bit late, 4 or 5 minutes, if I remember correctly. And yeah, that did cause a bit of stress, but that was about it. So I got the question paper a bit late, so I ripped it up instantly and started looking through the sections. Since I attempted biology first, I looked through bio first, and to my surprise, it was much more difficult than I'd expected. The questions were extremely lengthy. Many of them were statement types and assertion reasons also. Assertion reasons, particularly for biology, I hadn't practiced much at all. So yeah, that was a major disappointment, I would say, for me. But as I started going through them, the questions which seemed so difficult, they turned out not to be that hard. They were actually pretty simple. Few of the questions in biology, I would say, were controversial, bit difficult, and one of the questions, I believe the plant anatomy question, I got stuck on for a good 15 to 20 minutes. In the end, I decided to skip it and go ahead with the other ones. So initially, I had planned to attempt bio first. Generally, I do it in 30 minutes, then chemistry, 20 to 25 minutes, and then physics for the remaining time until 1.5 hours was complete. That had been my regular strategy in the mock tests. I got the paper about 5 minutes late, and biology took about 35 minutes, which is about 10 minutes more than I'd expected. So when I saw on the clock that it had been 40 minutes I already completed, I got really stressed out. Moved on to chemistry and found that chemistry also was not that easy. It was pretty difficult. Again, got very stressed out. But then when I moved on to physics, it was relatively easier. But still, some of the questions were tricky, and although I would have been able to solve them had I been in a regular mindset, some of the questions, I would say, tripped me up, and I spent a lot of time unnecessarily thinking over them. Even some of the questions I thought were so easy that they definitely have some other trick to them which I hadn't noticed. As far as biology is concerned, I attempted all the questions at once in order. I left a few of the ones that I thought were, I would say, controversial in this respect. Those are the statement type questions, the plant anatomy question and the spermiation question in zoology. So I moved on from those because I knew if I took any more time in biology, then I wouldn't have time left for the rest of the subjects. Coming on to chemistry, I had expected more of a inorganic or organic based paper, but there was a lot of physical chemistry in it. The physical chemistry also, there was a lot of calculations and a lot of theory, especially from the chapter solid state. I found the question was very tricky related to defects in solids. After I got to that question, it gave me a bit of confidence that yes, I know what the paper is saying, and I continued through it, and the rest of chemistry was relatively easy. Section B, the optional questions were comparatively easier than section A. Coming on to physics, I opened the section A of physics, and the very first question, although it was a simple question, I was not able to solve. That had a major effect on my mind, but then I decided, because I practiced in my mock tests also, that if I can't solve a question, then I might as well move ahead and do the other ones. The other ones, thankfully, turned out to be relatively much easier, and I was able to do them quite fast also. So that gave me a lot of confidence. I came back and I attempted that first question, and I got it right also in the end. Then all this was completed in about an hour and 40 minutes. Generally, I do it in 1.5 hours and then revise whatever whatever the subjects I think I need to revise. In this paper, I had expected to revise at least biology, chemistry, and around 20 questions of physics, as I generally do in my mock tests also. When I started revising biology, it took me another half an hour to 40 minutes. That was literally a shock for me because I'd never expected it to take so long. I also had to solve those two questions which I had left in the first round. Then I came on to chemistry, and I knew by that time that I had to really hurry up if I wanted to finish the paper. So I hurried through chemistry revision. I mainly did the questions that required calculation, and then I moved on to physics. Physics, I revised section B first, and by that time there were about 35 to 40 minutes left, and I knew that I had to now bubble the OMR, otherwise everything would be left out. So initially when I planned to revise 20 questions in physics, I got to revise around 5. Generally when I fill the OMR, I fill it in 20 to 25 minutes, but in the NEET exam it took me 35 minutes approx because I was extra careful and I had to check along the way. Then towards the end, I really had a crunch for time and I had to fill the OMR really fast, so I was also not confident whether I'd done it correctly. After the exam, I was extremely disappointed because I wasn't able to revise the questions that I had kept for revision. It was not that I felt I'd done bad, I knew I'd done pretty well, but I wanted to revise some things which I'd not been able to do. I wasn't able to follow the strategy that I'd prepared for. So when I came out, I was very disappointed, and my mother, when she asked me how much I would score, I said around 680, because that was a safe estimate for me कि इतना तो आ ही जाएगा. Now I'll tell you how I solved some questions. Okay, so let's start with physics. Like this question, it's related to escape velocity. So the escape velocity from the Earth's surface is v. The escape velocity from the surface of another planet having radius 4 times that of Earth and same mass density. So the key is same mass density. Formula for escape velocity is v is equal to root over 2 gm by r. And to bring this in terms of density and radius, we will write equal to root of 2g by r. Mass can be written as volume into density, so that is 4 by 3 pi r cube rho. And solving this, it comes out that escape velocity is directly proportional to radius. So if the radius is increased by 4 times, then the correct answer should be 4v. Now moving on to chemistry. Like there's this question, it's an organic chemical reaction. Acetone, what is the IUPAC name of the organic compound formed in the following chemical reaction? Acetone reacted with Grignard's reagent and then hydrolysis. So we have CH3CO, CH3 in the presence of Grignard reagent will give CH3 CO, MgBr, CH3 and C2H5 on the bottom here. Upon hydrolysis, we will get CH3, COH, CH3 and on the bottom C2H5. The IUPAC name of this should be 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a methyl at 2 position and also an alcohol, so it should be 2-methyl-butan-2-ol. That would be 4th option. Now going on to biology. Like there's this question 168 related to number of chromosomes in mitosis. The fruit fly has 8 chromosomes in each cell during interphase of mitosis. If the number of chromosomes at G1 phase is given, so that's 8. What would be the number of chromosomes after S phase? This is actually a trick question, I would say, because the number of chromosomes doesn't change after S phase, the DNA content does. So while the DNA content would become 4C if initially 2C is taken, the number of chromosomes would remain same and the answer would be 8. Okay, now on to the next question. There's this one question from Microbes chapter. It's relatively easier. So match the column. So Aspergillus. Okay, so in match the column, generally you can do it by matching one of the options. You can see which is the different option. But what I would suggest is match all of them, because then the chances for error are negligible, almost 0. So like in this, one can say that so Aspergillus niger, that produces citric acid. Acetobacter aceti gives acetic acid. Clostridium butylicum, butyric acid, and Lactobacillus, lactic acid. So while you could have done the question by just matching A, that is Aspergillus niger, it would be better to do all of them and find out the answer, because then the chances of error are 0. that is ABCD 3, 1, 4, 2. 3, 1, 4, 2. That is the first option. So this was my strategy, and I hope it helps you out. So in the last 10 to 15 minutes of the exam, I was torn between two things. ऐसा लग रहा था कि पेपर भी रिवाइज करना है जो क्वेश्चंस छूटे हुए थे, और OMR भी भरनी है, क्योंकि OMR नहीं भरोगे तो कोई फ़ायदा ही नहीं है एग्ज़ाम का फिर तो. But then I realized कि what I had done already in solving the questions had to be enough. I could not have done more, because if I had left anything else, if I had revised any more, then I would have left the OMR, and then there would have been no point in doing all of the questions, what to talk of those last 2 or 3 that I had to revise. So towards the end, I had to sort of think that what I've done is enough, और अब जो होएगा वो देखा जाएगा. OMR भरने में भी टाइम कम पड़ रहा था, तो मैंने जल्दी जल्दी डॉट मारे और फिर उसके भर दिया जैसा था. I had initially planned that I would finish about 5 minutes early and sit, but I was instead filling it to the very last moment. Due to that, after the exam, I was also anxious at whether I'd filled it right or not. Then in those last 10-15 minutes, I could not focus on anything else apart from the exam. It did not occur to me what the invigilator was saying, what people around me were looking at, or what they were doing. All I was thinking about was just finishing my paper on time and marking what I had already done. So what I would suggest for other aspirants is that give yourself some buffer time. So that, because the paper doesn't go according to what you've imagined. It certainly did not go according to my expectations, even though I got a great score, but it did not pan out as I had wanted it to. Regardless, that doesn't matter in the end, but what you can do is save yourself a bit of tension in the exam and keep yourself at least 5 or 10 minutes ahead of your schedules. That if push comes to shove, then you have some room to give. If you're filling the OMR till the very end, it's not a good thing. You might make some mistakes. I was lucky enough not to, but it does not happen to everyone. So that's what I would say if you are to give NEET. If you are to give NEET. So when I came out of the exam center, my mother was waiting for me outside. She could tell that I was visibly disappointed with myself because I wasn't able to follow the strategy that I had planned. Not because I didn't think I was going to score good. I knew I would score very good marks, but it didn't pan out how I'd wanted it to. When she asked me how much I'm expecting, then I said 680 marks, because that was how much I thought I'd at least get. So when I said कि I'm expecting 680, then my mother, she was very happy, because for her anything is great as long as I get a good college. फिर मैं अपने कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट वापस गया डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम द एग्जाम सेंटर. आई गॉट समथिंग टू ईट एंड देन आई वेंट देयर. वहाँ पे सारे दोस्त मिले, फिर उनसे क्वेश्चंस डिस्कस किए, एंड देन आई वाज सैटिस्फाइड दैट आई न्यू आई हैड डन वेरी वेल इन द एग्जाम, नॉट जस्ट वेल. सो हाँ, फिर आंसर की आई तो उससे आंसर्स मिलाए और पता चला कि एक ही क्वेश्चन गलत हुआ है, इंक्लूडिंग बोनसेस एंड ऑल ऑब्वियसली, क्योंकि उस टाइम पे लग रहा था कि बोनस मिल जाएगा. तो स्कोर मेरे को पता चल गया था कि 715 आएगा, तो आई एक्सपेक्टेड कि फाइनल आंसर की से भी ±10 मार्क्स होंगे, तो आई वुड एटलीस्ट हैव अ 700+ स्कोर. आई वाज वेरी कंटेंट विद दैट. तो एग्ज़ाम डे पे एक्सपेक्टेड था कि रिजल्ट 7 सितंबर को आएगा. आई वोक अप इन द मॉर्निंग, वाज एक्सट्रीमली एक्साइटेड. फिर दिन हो गया, फिर शाम हो गई और फिर रात हो गई, रिजल्ट आया ही नहीं. तब तक एंग्जाइटी बहुत ज़्यादा हो गई थी, बट थोड़ी देर के बाद यू ऑल्सो स्टार्ट फीलिंग अ बिट नम कि लाइक क्या हो रहा है, अब छोड़ो, अब जब आएगा तब देखा जाएगा. कोइंसिडेंटली फिर रात में 12 बजे के आसपास आई थिंक रिजल्ट आया था. Some friend of mine had told me. I tried opening it, it wasn't opening at that moment, and then I saw that I'd gotten a message from my teacher saying that I had gotten AIR 2. I didn't believe it obviously because I didn't expect it. So I only believed that I'd gotten that rank when I opened my result and I saw my mark sheet. Even after that, to this day also, I would say I can't really believe that I've gotten such a high rank. I never expected it, and yeah, it made me really happy to see that I'd excelled so well at this exam. My parents were relieved much more than anything. उनको खुशी तो थी obviously, but उनको मेनली यही बात लगती थी कि 2 साल की अगर मेहनत की है तो वो मेहनत बस सफल होनी चाहिए. That's all they actually wanted. They didn't really care whether I got top 10 rank or top 100 or anything. Just wanted that I should get a good college and that the hard work that I put in would work out in the end. So they were very happy, and yeah, even my elder brother, he called me to ask, and he was ecstatic actually. He was so excited, much more excited than me even, I would say. So this conversation brought back a lot of good memories to me. Now it's your time to take action. The right strategy, practice, consistency, and also a little bit of faith in yourself can help you achieve your dream rank. All the best.